Merry Christmas, whiskey fans, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, happy Whiskey Day, because any day can be special with a good dram. And hopefully, really good whiskey company have reserved a really good whiskey for door number 25, because it's the last one of the Advent calendar, and I think it would be good if they gave us something special for the last day. Master of Malt don't agree. I can't remember what they gave us for day 24 because they didn't have a 25th dram in their calendars, but I don't remember there being anything. I don't think so. Was there an 18-year-old Ledaig in door 24 once? Can't remember. Smells sherried. Smells good. And probably looks sherried as well. It's another dark one. So we had a very light one yesterday with the Balblair 12, which was a fantastic dram. This one does not look at all like a bourbon matured whiskey. That looks like it's seen some sherry or possibly some port or a massive bottle of E150A caramel. Very dense. Heavy sherry. And probably some European oak as well. Really ballsy, characterful dram. Raisins, nuttiness, chocolate. So possibly a blend of Oloroso and PX, perhaps something similar to like the Bunnahabhain 12, but probably a little bit more on the Oloroso side. Not quite as overly sweet as the Bunnahabhain 12. Very, very good intensity of aromas. And it smells like a really ballsy distillate as well. It's got that grippy, intense body that you get from like more heavy spirits. And by heavier spirits I mean things like a Mortlach. You've just got that weight to the spirit. So lots of sherry, lots of intensity. Let's see how it tastes. I think we may have an answer as to whether they've saved something special for day 25, and I think the answer might be yes. That's got so much intensity to it, really dense maltiness, and it's a well-aged maltiness as well. I think this is probably going to be an 18 to 20-year-old whiskey. Lots of sherry, but also the sherry doesn't cover up the malt. This is really the kind of thing that I always expect when I try a Macallan, but every time you actually try it, it's always that little bit disappointing, because Macallan, unless you've got thousands and thousands to spend, the whiskey that's available to you from that distillery is crap. But yeah, this is where Macallan should be. It's kind of the whiskey that matches the marketing that Macallan give us. Really intense sherry, fizzy, nutty, fruity, sugary, candied, like fruit peels, candied orange peel. Really intense, sugary oranginess, sweetened orange juice, nutty fruit cake, but really intense maltiness on this one, and that's one of the reasons why I think this is an older whiskey, because that maltiness and the well-aged malt really shines through that heavy cask influence, which is not easy to do. Possibly a little bit of sulphur as well, which is possibly adding to a little bit of the body of this whiskey. It's a good type of sulphur. Really very, very good. You could just sit and nose that one all day. And again, you can just hold that on your palate and enjoy that for an hour from one sip. It's really the antithesis to all of those low strength drams that I've mentioned a couple of in this calendar. I think I probably said it on the Tamnavulin or possibly the Jura, that when you get a low strength dram, in order to get the flavours that you really want, to get the full experience from drinking single malt Scotch whisky with a 40% whisky, you end up taking 2-3 times the volume in each sip just to really flood your mouth with the spirit, just to get some flavours out, because you're really having to wring those flavours out and you're really having to work hard to get the experience that you should be getting from whisky. With this one, it's the absolute opposite. With this one, you don't need to take big gulps, you don't need to take repeated sips, because I can still taste the sherry and the malt on this one from that first sip. Really effervescent, sweet, sugary, candied orange. Really strong maltiness, like an intense, concentrated barley sugar note. Lots of sherry, dark fruits, raisins, fruitcake, nutty, almonds, walnuts. So definitely lots of sherry casks gone into this. Probably, like I said, a mix of Oloroso and PX, but probably slightly more in balance of the Oloroso, because it's not an overly cloyingly sweet sherry style. But I do think that this is one of the older whiskies that we've had in this calendar, because on the nose it really has everything that was great about that Aberfeldy 16-year-old, but the palate matches. I don't know how many of you are going to know exactly what I mean by this, but on the palate of this whisky, it's got that, like I said before, that condensed barley sugar malty note that you only get from a whisky which has spent at least 15 years, probably 18 to 20, 22 years in quality casks. And it's that aged maltiness that has a little bit of a kind of condensed nut oil, like condensed walnut, and walnut with the skin still on. It's got that condensed nuttiness and barley sugar quality that's really something that you only get from very well aged whisky. And the reason why I said I don't know how many of you are going to know what I mean is obviously because everyone experiences things differently, but also because older whisky is being taken away from us at an increasing rate. The number of really well matured whiskies that you can get without spending 3 figures is a very short list these days, and a lot of the older whiskies that you still can get at an affordable price are not necessarily the better ones. Especially when you look like a distillery like Highland Park. They've got their 15-year-old, which is a great whisky, but the ABV is just not enough to carry those flavours. The 18-year-old, the same problems, but I believe the 18-year-old is well north of £100 now. It's hard to get this kind of experience from an affordable whisky these days, so I'll be very interested to see how affordable this one is, and I'll be a little bit sad if it turns out to be some £300 a bottle thing that they've kind of taken a hit on by putting in the calendar for us. But very, very, very good that they've put something a bit special in for Christmas Day. So sugary and mature and sweet and full-bodied and intense. It's a whisky where the flavours come to you. Fantastic. Where is it going to go on the leaderboard? Do you need to ask? Let's see what it is. Speyburn. Speyburn 18-year-old, so I think that's a 46er. 46%. So Speyburn, as you might expect, is a Speyside single malt whisky. And Speyburn, I think, are a little bit of an inside secret in the whisky world. They're putting out It's affordable, is the main thing that I should be saying. And I can still taste it now. It's a fantastic whiskey. I hadn't actually had this one before. I have had Speyburn 15. I had it on the V-pub. And at the time, that was one of, I think it was my favourite whiskey that I had on the V-pub that night. And because of that, I immediately went out and bought a bottle of the 10, the 15 and the 18, because they're all quite affordable, especially the 10. I got a bottle of that. Haven't tried it yet, but I got a bottle of Speyburn 10 for under £30. The 15 runs to about 50 something, and I think the 18 sits at about 75, 80, something like that. And it's just really good quality whiskey. Really good quality whiskey, where it's one of the few examples where you can get that aged whiskey profile without paying too much. Because I was thinking that this is probably going to be like a 46% whiskey around about the 18 to 20, maybe 22-year-old mark. So the fact that Speyburn have given us an affordable whiskey that tastes like it's in the low 20s when it's £80 a bottle and just 18 years old, fantastic. So really good that the really good whiskey company has given us something special on Christmas Day, and also really good that this stuff is still available to us at the moment at a very fair price. And if you didn't guess, that is very much a new number one spot on the leaderboard. Let me know what you think of Speyburn if you've had it. And what do you think of this advent calendar? Do you think it's been good value for money? I think it has. You always pay a little bit extra to have whiskey split into small bottles. You've got to pay for the packaging and someone to sort it out and split that whiskey into all the bottles, which will have taken them weeks to make. I'm guessing several hundred of these little presentation boxes. It's not a quick and easy job. I think that for £130, which I think is what I paid for this, being able to get 25 hand-selected, individually poured drams of whiskey is a really good experience that is worth the money. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you think of Speyburn. Thanks for joining me today, whether you've actually joined me on Christmas Day or not. And Merry Christmas, and I wish all of you a really good little break if you're fortunate enough to have some time off over Christmas. And thank you all for joining me in 2023. I'm off to work on my notes for my whiskey of the year now. No rest for the wicked, as they say. Merry Christmas, have a good one, and cheers.